Good day. I was sitting here. Recently been having these apocalyptic dreams, whether before or after. And as I was searching the YouTube, listening to a few videos here and there, I came across a video, and it stated that the reason why polygamy is not is wrong. And as I'm reading the comments, I saw a comment where someone said the reason one proof as the reason why polygamy is wrong, where polygamy meaning a man being with multiple women, is King David, and how he had a dysfunctional family because he had many wives. And in the, in what they were stating that uh, how they were raping was a or what rape was being occurred amongst individuals, as well as by women stealing and so on and so forth. And I stood there and I said to myself, wait a minute. No, from what I learned in the church, from what I read in the scriptures, and what been taught, that is not the case. Uh, a man being with one woman only is not scriptural, and that seems to be someone following their own mind and or situation, what they were taught. Now, this is the importance of reading the Bible and teaching it is actually very dangerous. It's very dangerous to see something and then go against it because you're basically spitting in the face of the one who ordained that which we were told to practice, which is a man being with one woman. Now, of course, there are many situations where you're not going to have more than one woman, especially financially in various societies. Now, I'm going to touch upon the King David. Now, for those who don't know, uh, King David, he committed a sin unto death. He slayed or placed Uriah the Hittite, which was an Israelite, and in a situation where he would die, so that he could take his wife Bathsheba. And when he laid with Bathsheba, after the slaying of Uriah, or before or after, he was given a note by Bathsheba of what had happened because she got pregnant by him, and he knew that he sinned. Now, if I remember correctly, a prophet came to him and told him basically there was a story about there was a man that had many and there's a man that had little, and the man that had many took from the man that had little, and David said that man must utterly be destroyed for he has sinned. And the prophet said, David, that man is you. And David repented to the Lord for his acts. The child then went on to die, and David went on to have more children, King Solomon being one, and he had a son. Oh, his name forget me right now. Um, he had another son, Absal. Yeah, he had another son, and as well as more children, and I believe his brothers had children as well. That sin that David had committed, not only was the child a punishment for his sin, but a dysfunctional family. A dysfunctional family was also the other curse that was placed upon David. And that is the reason why that situation occurred between why the where raping was occurring within uh, King David's family under his rule. For those of you who know the scriptures, when King Solomon, his last son, went into power, his King Solomon basically cleared cleared things up. He sought out evil, killed even men on the altar of the Lord, because that's how serious he was. Because under King Solomon's reign, he was told that if he did right, he'd be blessed. So no, polygamy is not wrong. And post apocalyptic, events, but before or during, this goes to prove the individuals, be it the females, who know what's coming, the hardships that's coming, the both physically, mentally, spiritually, they want to cling to a man. There are people, there are women that have pride, that lower that pride because they know within the spirit that that's what it's supposed to be. Granted, the current situation that we live in, that is not so, especially in the Western world. But because of all these post-apocalyptic movies that I've been watching, not watching, I don't watch much television, that I've been dreaming about, it goes to show, and the scriptures speak speak thoroughly on these events that are to come and how things are. Now, going back to, if should a man have multiple wives, it's also a sin for a man to take up multiple wives and not also being able to deal with them. It's also a sin for him to take upon women, go into women, and then toss them to the side. Now, another reason why I'm bringing this up is because when I was younger, I had a dream, and in this dream there were all these women, and these women were playing with children. Then an invisible ship, came down, and how I know it was an invisible ship was because the doors opened out of nowhere, like it came down like a stair step, and a tall man, walked out of the ship, and right on his left hand side he has a son, and he looked, and the people, they bowed their head to him once, and they looked at him, and he pointed at one of the women, and she know, and all of a sudden I said, wait a minute, why is he pointing? And she came to him and just said, she asked him, can she tell her parents? And he said, and he shook her head, and he shook his head. I'm looking at him saying, what's he doing? What is she going to tell her parents? And he said 5 minutes. She moved to his right over to her house, and she told her parents. And the parents were looking at the man in fear. So she then looked to the guy that walked to the invisible ship, which were called we were in the world called UFO. She asked, "Can I take anything?" And he said, you can carry sentimental things, but there is no need for clothes because where you're going, everything will be provided." So they then went into the ship. As they went into the ship, he looked to her. He walked to the front, and he said that there's a very simple white chair, very simple, and she sat into the chair. No, she never sat in the chair. She stood there, and he walked to the front of the ship. It was a very small cylinder, circular ship, and he turned to her and he said, "You can sit in that chair, and the chair would transform into the shape that is best for you." And she did, and it turned into not a chair that you sit upright, but it goes across, like a sofa. But it was very beautiful. It's white. It had like sheep's wool and gold and all these other, and these all of this curvature in the designs like engraved into it. And then he said, "Where we're going, you can't go unclean, and where we're going, the speed at which we are going, you won't be able to hold to it because you will die." I'm like, what is he talking about? And he raised his left hand, pointed at her, and I just knew that she transformed. Her clothes transformed, her countenance transformed. She was no longer afraid. A smile came upon her face, and he turned and he said a few words. Excuse me. And he said a few words, and the ship flew off. As the ship was flying off, they reached a destination, and when he landed, certain things happened. I'm going to skip a lot of the things. And he looked to his right, and there were all these females. I'm like, what is this? And automatically the spirit told me in my right ear, these are his wives. I never knew they were his wives, but I saw a woman first, and I said, oh, these are his wives. and say, and they looked like they were in, like, in harmony. Like they knew what was up. There was no why is it that you're with my husband, or so on and so forth. They knew in the spirit, I can tell, that this was supposed to be. And why was it that good? Why was it like that? The spirit told me that this way it's supposed to be. But polygamy occurs at its best when everyone understands the rules around it. The like why it is, how it is, when it's not physical, it's on a spiritual stance. So I just wanted to add the my dreams to it as backing up. Now I had more dreams where polygamy took into play, but at that time as a child I never understood why there was polygamy occurring so often within my dreams. So I hope that touched upon the whole polygamy scenario, and how yes it will occur. From what I have seen in my dreams, it will occur in a very big way. There's going to be lions in these streets, physical lions. And I'm seeing it in the news. And the more I'm seeing it, it's putting the spirit on me to come on more about these dreams. But I have so many of these dreams of not only polygamy, but all these events that's coming to this world, that no one's going to believe me. And they're very vivid. They're basically they're visions. So I'm going to leave it here today. Thank you, anyone who's listening. Take care. Goodbye.